This is section 2.2, day 3, simplifying algebraic expressions. Our objective today is to combine like terms and simplify algebraic expressions. First, I have a thought question for you. What is the distributive property? If you remember anything about the distributive property from the past, try it on these two expressions. If you did remember, your answers should be 3x plus 3y and negative 6a minus negative 6b. If you didn't remember, that's fine. The distributive property is used for evaluating the product of a number and a sum or difference. So you'll notice in our examples over here on the right, we have a number times a sum, or a number times a difference. That's what that means. That's when we use the distributive property. Let's look at our first case. It says A times B plus C equals AB plus AC. Basically, we take a number in the front, we give it to the first thing, and we give it to the second thing in the parentheses. In between the two goes that plus sign that's inside my parentheses. So we're multiplying A times B and A times C and separating it with a plus. So my example over here on the right, 4 times 6 is the first part, 4 times 3 is the second part. There's a plus in the middle, so a plus goes in the middle. Looking at our next one, B plus C times A equals BA plus CA. This basically just says I can distribute from the back of an equation as well, and it'll still get a plus sign in the middle. So for my example, I take my 4 and I give it to the 6, which is a 6 times 4. Take my 4 and I give it to the 3, which is a 3 times 4. There's a plus in the middle, so I put a plus in the middle. The next two examples are the same exact thing as the top two, just using subtraction. So I take A times B. Thank goodness. Okay. I take A times B and I take A times C. There's a minus in the middle, so there's a minus in the middle of my simplified. So I take 5 times 7, and I take 5 times 2. There's a minus in the middle, so I put a minus in the middle. The last one is the same thing, just from behind. A times B, A times C, minus in the middle, minus in the middle. So I take my 5 and my 7, and my 2 and my 5, minus in the middle here, so minus in my answer. That is the distributive property. Let's write an equivalent variable expression for each of these. I'm going to take my 8 times my x. I'm going to take my 8 times my 2. There's a plus in the middle, so a plus goes in between the two. 8 times x, we just write as 8x, plus 8 times 2 is 16. There's my simplified version. For the next one, I take my 7 times my negative 4. I take my t times my negative 4. There's a minus in between, so I put a minus in. 7 times negative 4 is negative 28, minus t times negative 4 is negative 4t. Negative. Remember, minus a negative becomes plus a positive, so this is really negative 28 plus 4t. The next one, 9 times 3m plus 5. We take 9 times 3m, and we take 9 times 5. There's a plus in the middle, so we put a plus in the middle. Now for 9 times 3m, I'm going to multiply the 9 times 3, which makes a 27, and my m just gets put on the end. Plus 9 times 5 is 45. Remember, we cannot simplify anymore at this point because those are not like terms. All right, and our last one, we take the negative 2 times the 6y. We take the negative 2 times the 4. Parentheses around my negative 2. There's a minus in the middle, so a minus goes in the middle. Negative 2 times 6y is negative 12y. Minus negative 2 times 4 is negative 8. Remember, minus a negative can be simplified into a plus. My final answer is negative 12y plus 8. All right, your turn. Use the distributive property to write an equivalent expression, then evaluate the expression. So you're going to distribute just as we have been, but then you're going to simplify it all the way down to a single number. You have 4 to try. For the first one, your first step should be 3 times 8 plus 3 times 5. You know 3 times 8 is 24, 3 times 5 is 15. Adding those together, I get 39. For the second one, your first step should be 2 times 2 plus 9 times 2. 2 times 2 is 4, 9 times 2 is 18. Your final answer is 22. The third one, you should take 6 times 11 minus 6 times 4. This becomes 66 minus 24, which is 42. And for the final one, you should take 3 times negative 5 minus 14 times negative 5. 3 times negative 5 is negative 15. 4 times negative 5 is negative 70. Minus a negative is plus positive, so we get 55. All right, when we're distributing and simplifying, we have to be very careful. The first thing you always need to do is change it into a sum. Never forget that first step. So we want to rewrite this as 8.5c plus, remember that minus becomes plus a negative 3, and then c plus 5. We're going to focus on just this part right here with the parentheses, because we need to distribute first. So we have negative 3 times c, which is just negative 3c, negative 3 times 5, a plus in the middle, parentheses around my negatives to help clear it up, and then we're just going to bring down the rest of it. So 8.5c and my plus. Let's simplify a little bit. 8.5c and negative 3c becomes a 5.5c plus negative 3 times 5 is negative 15. You can either leave it like this, or we can rewrite our plus and negative as minus. Now your turn to try. Simplify the expression. 11 minus 2 times 3.4b plus 1. Remember, your first step is to rewrite it as a sum. So 11 plus negative 2 times 3.4b plus 1. Now we distribute. My 11 just hangs out front for now. Negative 2 times 3.4b plus negative 2 gets multiplied by that 1. Well, negative 2 times 3.4b is negative 6.8b. Negative 2 times 1 is negative 2. 11 plus negative 2 is 9. So I'm going to write my negative 6.8b first and my plus 9 second. We could have written it as 9 plus negative 6.8b or 9 minus 6.8b. All three are exactly the same. Your assignment is worksheet 2.2, and we will have a quiz following this lesson.